Hey guys, welcome back for another video. What we're going to do today is we'll be looking at all of our Day 2 MLB games we have coming up for Friday, March 28th. We're going to completely break down every single matchup, break down the rosters, starting pitching, but also look at the best bets, the money lines, the spreads, the over-unders. The goal here is to try to predict the outcome for every single game we have coming up today. Who's going to win, lose, and what the final score will be. First things first, though, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments about these games or anything else, by all means, drop them below, and I'm going to respond to every single one of them. Opening day is in the books. You know it's the right season. Baseball season is finally kicked off. One of the best times of year. Day 1 is down. Now there's the next games. We have a lot of really good series. We have a lot of interleague series going on right now. American League versus National Leagues. But we also have a couple teams that didn't even play yesterday. Technically, tonight is going to be their opening night. We want to make sure to give those teams some props, give them some credit. But let's go ahead and get started running through these games. The very first one we have kicking things off is going to be at 4:10 p.m. We have the Rockies versus the Tampa Bay Rays. Colorado versus Tampa. This game's going to be all the way in Florida. We know the issue that the Rays have going on right now. They technically have no home field stadium, but still, they got to find a way to win this game. They've had a rough past year. So have the Rockies. Both these teams are fighting off to try to get back to relevance right now. Right now, you have Tampa Bay. They're going to be 1.5 run favorites. The over in here is 7.5. When you're looking at the odds here, Colorado comes in 36% chance to win this game. Tampa Bay is 64% chance to win this game. They are heavy favorites in their home state. Right now, Colorado plus 166. Tampa Bay is minus 199. They have a lot riding for them to win this game. This game's going to be centered around pitching. We know the very first couple games for any team, the very first couple weeks, everything is always shaky. It's really hard to call these first few games because the pitching arms aren't warmed up and the bats aren't in a rhythm yet. So it's kind of hard to predict who's going to win. But for the Colorado Rockies, they're going to be rolling with Freeland. He was 5-8 last season, 5.24 ERA. Got to get those numbers down. They're going to need better pitching. Always tough to pitch in Colorado, but still, they need this guy to step up as their ace. And for Tampa Bay, they have a point coming in. He was 8-8 last year with a 3.6 ERA. Right now, Colorado last season, they averaged 4.2 runs per game. They were hitting 242, and their team ERA 5.47. That's the worst in the major leagues by a long shot. That is a really bad ERA. Like I was just saying, they got to work on that pitching. And looking at Tampa Bay last season, they averaged 3.7 runs. They hit 230. Very good team ERA, 3.77. Tampa Bay, they've usually had a lot of good production from their young players. Last season was not the year when that was the case, though. They got to make sure to get those bats going. Right now, Tampa Bay is the favorite. We're going to go with Tampa Bay winning this one. We're going to go with them covering the spread, but we think it's going to be, probably kind of a close game. They're probably going to win this one like a 5-3 or a 4-2 type matchup. And we'll go with the over there. And the next game we're going to be looking at is going to be on Apple TV. We're going to have the Baltimore Orioles versus the Toronto Blue Jays. This game is going to be at 7:07 p.m. Right now, the Blue Jays, they are at home. They are going to be the favorites coming into this game. They are 1.5 run favorites. The over in here is 8.5. Vegas definitely sees some points being scored. Baltimore, they're plus 110. And Toronto, they are minus 129. If you got a chance to watch that game last night, Baltimore went off. They have 6 or 7 home runs. O'Neal, his 6th straight opening day with the home runs. They were getting home runs from everyone. We know this lineup. This lineup has a lot of power. They are built around home runs, scoring runs, getting on base. Where they kind of lack is in their pitching staff going forward for this season, but they can duke it out with anyone. They have a lot of power, and they definitely got that production yesterday. But when you're a Baltimore fan, you have to be worried. Did they score all their runs yesterday? And are they now due to have a bad game? That always happens. That's always my biggest fear. Whenever a team goes off on offense, usually the very next game, the bats are completely silent. Toronto, they have the bats. Bichette, Guerrero, Santander. They still have a lot of really good hitters as well, but they did not get the bats going yesterday. We had no hits from Bichette, no hits from Guerrero, no hits from Santander. So your main bats didn't even do anything yesterday. So are they due to wake up today when you're looking at this game? Obviously, when you're looking at the matchup here, you're going to have Charlie Martin starting for the Orioles. He's a guy that if he gets back to the type of production he has in his career, he can really be the ace, that foundational anchor piece for the Orioles starting pitching. And for the Blue Jays, they're going to be going with Gausman. Both of these guys, obviously, you didn't get to get much out of them last season, so this is really their first chance back to show what they're capable of. For the Orioles, last season they averaged 4.9 runs per game. They hit .250, and their team ERA 3.94. It might be a little higher this season because they lost some guys from that pitching staff. That pitching staff is taking a step back, but as long as those bats continue to stay hot, obviously, they can ride that all the way to the playoffs. And for the Blue Jays, they averaged 4.1 runs last season. They hit .241, and their team ERA 4.29. Obviously, for the Orioles, you have all the young studs, all the stars. The Blue Jays, you have the good bats as well. There's some contract issues going on right now with Guerrero and with Bichette, but at some point, those bats are bound to come alive. But we're going to go with the Orioles winning a lower scoring game here. We have them winning this one 4-3. We're going with the under because that over-under is 8.5, and we're going to go with the plus 1.5. In our next matchup, we're going to have the Pittsburgh Pirates visiting the Miami Marlins. This game is going to be at 7:10. This game is going to be in Miami. Miami at home, though, they are going to be the underdogs. The Pirates are going to be 1.5 run favorites. The over here is 7.5. Pittsburgh minus 145, Miami plus 123. When you're looking at the percentages here, Pittsburgh has a 57% chance to win this game. The Marlins have a 43% chance to win this game, but it's the Marlins who won the game last night. So obviously, Sandy Alcantara, it was really good to see him back on the mound. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball when he's performing. He's had some injury issues. He was throwing it last night. 4 innings. He gave up 2 runs. He had 7 strikeouts. What's really hurting the Marlins here is they have one of the worst offenses in baseball. It's probably not going to be any better this season. That's why Pittsburgh on the road here, they are going to be the favorites to get their first win of the season. Looking at the pitching matchup, the Pirates are going to be rolling with Keller as the starter tonight, and the Marlins are going to be rolling with Gillespie. Looking at where these teams finished last season, we know that the Marlins won last night 5-4. They were also the underdogs yesterday, but they were able to pull it out. Pittsburgh, they averaged 4.1 runs per game. They hit .234. Their team ERA 4.125. For the Marlins, like I was saying, one of the worst offenses in baseball. They averaged 3.9 runs. They hit .244. Their ERA, their pitching was awful last season, 4.73 ERA. They got to get the ERA down. Sandy Alcantara back is definitely going to help them there, but they have to consistently get some runs on offense. We're going to go with Pittsburgh winning this one on the road. We have them winning it in a low-scoring game here, 4-2, covering the spread, going with the under. And then the next game we're looking at, we have the Boston Red Sox versus the Texas Rangers. This game is going to be in Texas. It's going to be in Arlington. Right now, Boston on the road here. 1.5 run favorites. The over here is 8.5. Vegas again sees some points. There was some points scored in this one last night. You have the Red Sox getting the win 5-2. And they did that without a lot of the production from the top of their order. 1 hit from Duran, none from Devers, Bregman, Casas, Story. All those bats were quiet. They were still able to score enough runs because Abreu basically went off 2 home runs last night. And on the other side, Texas is going to have one of the best offenses in baseball, especially once they get Seager going. But they really have to work on that pitching staff this season. Looking at this matchup here, you are going to have the Red Sox. Like I said, they are 1.5 run favorites. They're minus 120. The Rangers plus 101, and the over-under is 8.5. The Red Sox on the road, 52% chance to win this game. Texas, a 48% chance to win this game. And when you're looking at the matchup, you're going to have 2 of our younger pitchers. You have Hawk going for the Red Sox. You have Leiter going for the Rangers. He obviously doesn't have very many pitching performances under his belt, but there was a lot of promise for him when he was coming up through the minors. Boston, last season, they averaged 4.6 runs per game. They hit .252. Their team ERA 4.04, but a lot of people actually have them as a dark horse candidate to win the AL East. And for the Rangers, they average 4.2 runs, and they hit 238, and their ERA 4.35. But obviously, they're going to be a little better this season. They have Eovaldi. They have Jacob deGrom back this season. I cannot wait to see deGrom pitch. Just as a side note, he was my favorite pitcher in baseball when he was fully healthy. I'm going to go with the Rangers winning one. I have them winning this one. I have them winning it 6-3. I'm going to go with the plus 1.5, and we're going to go with the over. And then the next game, we have the New York Mets versus the Houston Astros. This game's at 8:10 p.m. on Apple TV. This game's going to be in Houston. The Astros are going to be 1.5-run favorites. The over in here is going to be 8. And when you're looking at the Mets, are going to be plus 115. The Astros minus 135. Very close game for the majority of it last night. But the Astros won a very low-scoring game, 3-1. The Mets' big bats, Alonso, Lindor, Soto. You didn't get much production out of them yesterday, but they are due to wake up, and when they do, it's probably going to be at the same time. But the Mets have to make sure that their pitching continues to play well. Right now, when you're looking at this game, you have the Mets a 45% chance to win this game. Houston, a 55% chance to win this game. They're going to be rolling with McGill as the starter. He's one of those guys. He's up, he's down. You just have to hope he's having a good game today, because sometimes he shows a lot of promise. Sometimes he looks like he's that he's going to get sent back to AAA. You have to hope that he's going to have a good performance to get this team on track. You don't want to start out the season 0-2, and the Astros, they're going to be rolling with Brown. For the Mets, last season, one of the best offenses in baseball, and obviously they made a lot of productive moves this offseason, bringing in Juan Soto, $765 million. They averaged 4.8 runs. They had 247. Their ERA, 3.94. It's going to be better with Senga back pitching. And for the Astros, they averaged 4.6 runs. They hit 262. One of the best pure hitting teams in baseball. And their team ERA, 3.74. We have the Astros. They are listed as the favorites here. I kind of waffled on this one, kind of went back and forth because I could see the Astros winning it. I could see the Mets getting their first season. I'm going to go with the Mets winning a lower scoring game here. We're going to go with a 4-3 Mets win, going with the plus 1.5, going with the under. And then the next game we're looking at is going to be at 9:40 p.m. on NBC. We have the Athletics versus the Mariners. We know that the A's are going to be soon moving where they're going to be located, but they get to start out this season on the road. This game is going to be in Seattle. Seattle, again, is the favorite. 1.5-run favorites. The over-under here is 7. Looking at the matchup, the Athletics, 42% chance to win. Seattle, a 58% chance to win. And Seattle, minus 154. The A's, plus 129. Last night, Seattle was able to get the first win to start the season with really little production. They only had 5 hits. They won 4-2. They were able to squeak that game out. Basically, Polanco was able to carry this team. He had 3 at-bats, he had 3 home runs, 2 RBIs, and he had 1 run. He was basically all of the production for the Mariners. But hey, a win is a win. You just have to ride your pitching and your limited hitting, and you can technically have a real shot to compete in the AL West. For the A's, they're going to be rolling with Springs, and the Mariners are going to be rolling with Castillo as the starting pitchers. Last season, the A's, they averaged 4 runs a game. They hit 233. Their team ERA, 4.37. And for Seattle, 4.2 runs per game. They hit 224. Like I was just mentioning, they got to get those bats going. 224 is a very low average. Yes, this is a team who does have a real legit shot to compete in the West, but they got to at least get that up to 240. But they do have the pitching. Their ERA was 3.49. Seattle is the favorites here. They are at home. We have Seattle winning this one. We think they're going to start out the season 2-0. They win this one 6-2. I have them covering the spread, going with the over. And our next game that we're going to be looking at, this is low-key one of the best matchups of the entire week, because this is two appreciated teams, let's say, because the Atlanta Braves and the San Diego Padres are both playoff caliber teams, especially the Braves when they're fully healthy. We're going to have the Atlanta Braves versus San Diego at 9:40 p.m. This game is in San Diego. The Braves, one of the toughest 1 through 9 lineups in baseball, and that's without a healthy Acuna. Once he comes back, this could be the guy that takes it over the ledge there, takes it to the next step. They could potentially ride him all the way into the playoffs to the World Series this season, especially if they're able to keep Strider healthy as the pitcher. They have a legit shot to make a playoff run. Same thing for the Padres. We know they have the names. We know they have the bats. If they continue to get that high-level production, there's a team that can go places in the NL West, even though they have to compete with the Dodgers. One of the best teams in the AL East versus one of the best teams in the NL West. Right now, the Padres are at home. They are 1.5-run favorites. The over-under here is 7. The Braves last season, 4.3 runs per game. They hit 243. Their ERA, 3.48. And for San Diego, really good offense, 4.7 runs per game. They hit 263. It's not just about home runs. It's not just about scoring runs. They can get guys on base. They can draw walks. They can get the base hits. And their team ERA, 3.86. Right now, the Braves, plus 106. And the Padres are minus 125. The Braves, this game's almost a 50-50 here. They have a 47% chance to win this game. San Diego has a 53% chance to win this game. But we know this is going to be one of those games. It's just going to take one hit, one move during the game, and that's what's going to be able to carry and make the difference. For the Braves, they're going to be going with Lopez as the starter, and the Padres are going to be going with Cease as the starter. And when you're looking at the matchup here, San Diego, can they get the production at home to win this game? They were basically able to have a very successful game last night. 10 hits overall. Tatis goes off, 4 at-bats, 2 runs, 3 hits. We know when he's on the field, one of the most exciting players in baseball. They have Machado, 2 hits last night, Bogarts. They have a lot of weapons. They can get a lot of production from different sources. The Braves, though, can they squeak this one out? This is also a really tough one to call. I'm very split on it, but I'm going to go with the Braves winning this one, and I think it's going to be close. I have them winning this one 4-3, so I'm going to go with that plus 1.5. And then our second to last game is going to be in Arizona. It's going to be at 9:40 p.m. We have the Chicago Cubs versus the Arizona Diamondbacks. We know the Cubs technically started the season versus the Dodgers last week, but they went 0-2. They finally got their first win of the season last year, so now they're 1-2, and they had to get that win. They fought hard, they won it, and boy, did they win it in a really good fashion because they got a lot of production from the offense. They won last night 10-6. Basically, Hap, he goes off last night, 5 at-bats, 2 hits, 3 RBIs, 1 home run, 1 walk, 2 runs, a lot of production from the top of that order. They were able to catapult that into success last night, but can they continue to get that run support going into Game 2? Because we know that Arizona, there's a team, they just went to the World Series recently. Yes, they kind of fell off last season, but a lot of people have them as a dark horse to make a deep playoff run. Some people are even picking them to make potentially the World Series this season, and they have one of the best offenses in baseball. Right now, the Cubs, they are the underdogs. The Diamondbacks, 1.5-run favorites. They are minus 131. Cubs are plus 111, and Vegas has the over-under at 8.5 runs. They definitely see some offense being scored here. Chicago, 46% chance to win. The Diamondbacks have a 54% chance to win. Looking at the actual pitching matchup, who's going to be deciding this game? We have Talon for the Cubs. We have Kelly for the Diamondbacks. There's some productive pitchers there. For the Cubs last season, 4.5 runs per game. They hit 242. Their ERA, 3.78. Where the Diamondbacks fall short, one of the best. They have a top 3 offense from last season in all of baseball. It is their pitching that completely left them down last season, but they're going to be a little healthier so far this year. Last season, 5.5 runs per game. That's top 3, competing for number 1. They hit 263, but they were giving up 4.62 runs per game. We have Arizona getting back to 500, winning this one, and there being a lot of offense. They win this one 7-4. We have them covering the spread, and we're going with the over still. And then our final game, we have the Detroit Tigers visiting the LA Dodgers. This is a late one. It's going to be at 10 p.m. It's going to be in Los Angeles. The Dodgers at home, 1.5-run favorites. The over-under here is 7. Vegas sees this being on the lower scoring side, but the Dodgers, they are rolling 3-0. Very close game last night, but they were able to pull out the win 5-4, and they were able to piecemeal it. They got a lot of production from different sources. This is one of the deadliest, this is the deadliest lineup in baseball, especially if they're able to stay healthy. One of the best teams probably ever put on a field on paper. Their goal is staying healthy, and they're going to try to make a run at the all-times wins record. Can they start out the season 4-0? That's the big question here. Can they keep Ohtani healthy throughout the year? Right now, the Dodgers, like I said, 1.5 run favorites. They're minus 223. And for the Tigers, they are plus 184. The over-under is 7. Detroit, 34% chance to win this game. The Dodgers, a 66% chance to win this game. When they are that favorite, that kind of scares me a little bit because anything can happen in baseball. It's hard to go 5-0. The Tigers are bound to steal one at some point. Looking at the pitching matchup for the Tigers, they're going to be going with Flaherty as the starting pitcher, and the Dodgers, they're going to be rolling with Yamato, who last season 1-0, 1.8 ERA. This is a pitcher, a lot of promise this past season, a lot of promise this season. Can he stay healthy, and how does he adapt first? It's very hard, your first performance, because those arms are not fully warmed up from spring, but we're going to go with the Dodgers. There's just so many hitters on this team. Even if you get a bad pitching game, they can score some runs. Detroit last season, 4.2 runs per game. They hit 234. Their ERA, 3.61. Detroit, do not underestimate them. They are more than capable of winning this game. They don't have a bad team by any means. And for the Dodgers, 5.2 runs per game. They hit 258. Their ERA, 3.9. But we know they had a lot of injuries last season. We have the Dodgers moving to 5-0, winning this one, winning it handedly to me. They win this one 5-2. We have them covering the spread, but we're just coming in right at that over-under. Guys, that's a quick breakdown. That's our picks and prediction, our best bets for all of our Major League games for Friday, March 28th. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. If you have any comments, drop them below, and I will respond. Thank you.